What would you do if your body was a prison? If every nerve was on fire, every second of every day? If you had an urge so powerful it drove you to the edge of madness? But no matter what you did, no matter how many times you tried, you could never, ever feel satisfied? That was Cho Sang-woo's curse. And tonight, it was killing him. The penthouse reeked of expensive perfume and failure. Seoul's skyline glittered beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, 40 million of real estate, and it might as well have been a coffin. Sang-woo sat on the edge of his king-sized bed, knuckles white against silk sheets that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Behind him, 2 women lay unconscious, exhausted, spent. 5 hours. 5 hours they'd tried to satisfy him. 5 hours and he felt nothing. The same burning emptiness clawing at his chest. The same maddening pressure behind his eyes, like his skull was slowly being crushed from the inside. The same urge crawling under his skin like fire ants, demanding something, screaming for something. But his body couldn't name it and couldn't find it. 10 years of this hell. "Get them out," he growled. His underboss, Kwon Deong, stood by the door with his usual impassive expression. He snapped his fingers. 2 bodyguards entered silently, lifting the sleeping women, carrying them away like discarded props. The moment the door closed, Sang-woo's control shattered. He swept everything off his nightstand, a lamp worth more than most people's cars. Crystal decanters filled with whiskey older than him. His phone. Watched them explode against marble. Glass shattered. Amber liquid pooled like blood, but destruction brought no relief. Nothing ever did. "The same?" Kwon asked quietly. "Worse." Sang-woo pressed his palms against his eyes, trying to push the pressure back, trying to hold himself together. "At the meeting today, I almost shot Min-suk. The sound of his breathing, just his breathing, Kwon, made me want to tear off my own skin." Kwon's jaw tightened. They both understood what this meant. The Dragon of Gangnam, the most feared Mafia boss in Seoul, the man who'd built an empire from nothing, who'd killed rivals with his bare hands, who made grown men tremble with a look, was losing his mind. And in their world, madness meant death. "Your brother called again," Kwon said carefully. "He wants you to try that new facility. One more chance." "I've tried everything," Sang-woo roared, spinning around. His reflection in the window looked like a stranger, gaunt, wild-eyed, barely human. "Doctors in Switzerland, shamans in Tibet, medications that turn me into a zombie, therapists who look at me like I'm a monster. Nothing works. No one can fix me because no one even knows what's wrong with me." His voice cracked on the last word. Kwon said nothing. There was nothing to say. Sang-woo turned back to the window, staring at the city he controlled, the empire he'd built, the kingdom that meant nothing because he couldn't enjoy a single moment of it. 34 years old, more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, more power than most men dreamed of, and he would trade all of it, every territory, every ounce of fear and respect, for one moment of peace. "Fine," he said finally, his voice dead. "One more try. But this is the last time, Kwon. If this doesn't work..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. But here's what Sang-woo didn't know. 6,000 miles away in Accra, Ghana, a woman was packing her bags. Amma Mensah stood in the humid evening air of Ridge Hospital's emergency ward, her hand resting gently on an agitated patient's shoulder. The elderly man had been thrashing, screaming, fighting the restraints until her touch. Now his breathing slowed, his eyes cleared. The nurses watching whispered to each other, the way they always did. "She has a way with them. It's like magic." Amma didn't call it magic. Her grandmother had called it NSA, the gift of healing hands, passed down through 3 generations of village healers. That night, the acceptance letter arrived. Yongan Medical and Psychiatric Institute, Seoul, South Korea. Elite, prestigious, impossible to get into. Amma touched the small talisman beneath her scrubs, her grandmother's last gift, and remembered the old woman's final words, spoken with cold hands but an iron grip. You will meet someone the world has given up on. Your hands will bring peace where medicine cannot. She didn't understand the prophecy then. She still didn't. But as she boarded the plane to Seoul 3 days later, one thought echoed in her mind: I'm ready for whatever you have for me. She had no idea she was about to meet a man whose torment would test everything she believed about healing, love, and herself. This is a story about a man who couldn't be satisfied and the woman who became his cure. But it's also a story about jealousy, betrayal, conspiracy, and the dangerous cost of love in a world that doesn't forgive weakness. What happens when Amma's touch stops his torment for the first time in a decade? Keep reading, because someone is already watching and they'll do anything to tear them apart. Amma Mensah had made a promise to a dying woman. Her grandmother's hands had been cold that last morning, but her grip was iron. You have the gift, child, the sight. You'll meet someone the world has given up on, and you'll see what no one else can see. Now, standing in the glass and steel lobby of Yongan Medical and Psychiatric Institute, those words felt like a weight around her neck. Seoul's February air bit through her coat. The language on every sign was incomprehensible. Everyone stared, some curious, some cold, all aware she didn't belong. Dr. Han Myung made that abundantly clear within the first 5 minutes. Our clientele is particular, Dr. Han said, her smile not reaching her eyes. She was elegant, composed, and looked at Amma the way someone might examine a stain on expensive fabric. High class, Korean. They have certain expectations about their care providers. Cultural compatibility, you understand. Amma held her gaze, refusing to look away first. Pain doesn't check passports, Dr. Han. Neither does healing. Something flickered in the doctor's expression, irritation or perhaps recognition of a threat. We'll see. Dr. Han's smile sharpened. Your first patient arrives this afternoon. He's destroyed every nurse we've assigned to him. Physically, mentally, we've run out of volunteers. She paused at the door, glancing back. Try not to break on your first day. The moment Dr. Han left, another voice called out from the break room. You're the one assigned to him? Amma turned. A pretty Korean nurse stood in the doorway, eyes wide with something between awe and concern. Yoonji Park. She rushed forward, taking Amma's hands. Oh, Uni, you have no idea what you're walking into. The Dragon of Gangnam. He's not just a patient. He's a legend, the most powerful man in Seoul's underworld. He's still just a man with a medical condition, Amma said calmly. Yoonji laughed, a little too bright, a little too sharp. You really are new here. Come on, I'll walk you up. Consider it moral support. They rode the elevator in silence. Yoonji kept glancing at Amma, studying her with an intensity that felt off. I heard you have an amazing reputation. Patients who won't respond to anyone else, they calm down for you. How do you do it? I listen. I care. That's all. Yoonji's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. That's beautiful. Really. But at the door to the private suite, Dr. Han stopped Yoonji cold. Nurse Mensah only, Mr. Cho's orders. For a split second, so fast Amma almost missed it, something dark crossed Yoonji's face. Then the warm smile returned. Good luck, Uni. You're going to do amazing. Amma nodded and stepped inside. She didn't see Yoonji's smile fade the moment the door closed. She didn't see the way Yoonji's nails dug crescents into her own palms. She didn't know that Yoonji had been requesting this assignment for 2 years and had been denied every single time. 4 bodyguards flanked the entrance. Inside, the suite looked like a 5-star hotel had swallowed a hospital room. Marble floors, leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. And there, standing with his back to her, was Cho Song-woo. Amma had prepared herself. She'd read the file. She knew he was wealthy, powerful, dangerous. She hadn't prepared for the pain. It radiated off him like heat from a furnace. The tension in his shoulders, the white-knuckle grip on the windowsill, the way he stood perfectly still, as if moving might shatter him. This wasn't a crime lord. This was a man being eaten alive from the inside. "Mr. Cho," Amma said softly, "I'm Nurse Mensa. I'll be—" He turned. Their eyes met, and the room went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The way the world goes silent before an earthquake. Amma felt the hairs on her arms rise, felt something ancient stir in her chest, in the place where her grandmother had said the gift lived. A pull, a recognition, something that had no name in any medical textbook. Sang-woo's expression shifted. Confusion, then something like fear. "What did you do?" he whispered. "I introduced myself." He moved toward her, not threatening, searching, circling her slowly like she was an equation he couldn't solve. Amma stood still, pulse racing, professional training warring with the strangeness of the moment. "Don't move," he said, his voice hoarse. "Just don't move." He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could see the exhaustion carved into his features, close enough to see his hands trembling, close enough to see a decade of hell living behind his eyes. "Take my blood pressure," he said. Amma reached for his wrist. The moment her fingers touched his skin, Cho Sang-woo inhaled sharply, and tears spilled down his cheeks, not from sadness, from relief. The fire that had burned under his skin for 10 years flickered. The screaming pressure behind his eyes went quiet. The maddening urge that had ruled every waking moment, gone. For 3 perfect seconds, Cho Sang-woo felt nothing but peace. "Impossible," he whispered, staring at her like she'd performed a miracle. "What are you?" Amma's professional training kicked in, even as her heart raced. "I'm just a nurse, Mr. Cho. Your blood pressure is elevated, but not dangerous." She reached for her tablet. "I need your complete medical history. Dr. Han's files are incomplete. Sit." He gestured to the leather chair, his voice different now, softer, almost desperate. "I'll tell you everything. Just stay." For the next hour, Sang-woo told her what he'd never fully told anyone. The condition that started when he was 24, a curse without a name, the endless burning urge that no encounter could satisfy, the physical pain, migraines that blinded him, muscle tension that felt like his bones were trying to escape his body, nerves scraped raw by existing, the violence it caused, the instability, the fear that one day he'd lose control completely and destroy everything, including himself. "I've seen specialists in 5 countries, he said quietly, staring at where her hand still rested on his sleeve. "I've tried medications that turned me into a walking corpse, treatments that nearly killed me. Nothing works. No one can help me." He looked up, meeting her eyes. "But just now, when you touched me..." The screaming stopped. For the first time in 10 years, I felt quiet. Amma's mind raced. Her training offered no explanation, no diagnosis fit, but her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. "Some conditions aren't purely physical, child. They're imbalances of the spirit, the body searching for something it can't articulate. In my culture," Amma said carefully, "we believe that some ailments can't be cured by medicine alone. Your body might be searching for something it doesn't know how to name. Balance, peace, connection. You think I'm cursed. I think you're suffering." She held his gaze. "And I think we can help you. But you have to trust me." Sang-woo looked down at where her hand rested on his sleeve. The touch didn't ignite the usual manic urge. Instead, it grounded him, calmed him, made him feel almost human. "I don't trust anyone," he said finally. A beat of silence. "But for you, I'll try." Those words would save him. those same words would nearly destroy them both. Because outside that door, Yoonji Park stood with her ear pressed to the wall, listening to every word and feeling her heart crack with jealousy. And in her office, 3 floors down, Dr. Han Myung made a phone call to someone who had been waiting for Cho Sang-woo to show weakness. Subscribe now, because what happens next will change everything. 3 weeks changed everything. At first, it was clinical. Amma arrived at 8 a.m., checked vitals, guided Sang-woo through breathing exercises her grandmother had taught her, grounding techniques, gentle pressure on his wrists, his temples, his chest, places where the torment gathered like storm clouds. And it worked. When she touched him, the fire subsided. When she spoke, her voice low and steady, the pressure behind his eyes eased. When she left each evening, the symptoms crept back, slower than before, but inevitable. By the end of week 2, he requested she stay overnight. Dr. Han approved it with a cold smile and a significant pay increase. "He's responding to you specifically," Dr. Han said, watching Amma with an unreadable expression. "Remarkable. Document everything." What Amma documented in her official reports, vitals stabilizing, sleep improving, aggression episodes decreasing from daily to none. What she didn't document, the way he watched her move through the room, the way his breathing synchronized with hers, the way he started asking her questions that had nothing to do with treatment. "Tell me about Ghana. Tell me about your grandmother. Tell me why you became a nurse." And somehow, in the late hours when Seoul slept outside those floor-to-ceiling windows, Amma found herself answering, telling him about Accra's markets, her mother's cooking, her grandmother's healing ceremonies under the stars. He listened like every word mattered, like she mattered. The night everything changed started the same way it always did. 2 a.m., Sang-woo couldn't sleep, the pressure building again, manageable but present. Amma sat beside him on the edge of the bed, one hand pressed to his chest, feeling his heartbeat slow under her palm. "It's not working as well," he said quietly. "I can feel it coming back." "Your body is learning," Amma said. "Healing isn't linear. There will be. I'm terrified." The words came out raw, unguarded. "I'm terrified that this is temporary, that you'll leave and I'll go back to that hell. That I'll lose this, lose you, and I won't survive it." Amma looked up. In the dim light, the dragon of Gangnam looked like a boy who'd never been held, never been told he was worth saving. "When I was 7, he continued, voice breaking, "my father locked me in a cellar for 3 days because I cried at my mother's funeral. He said weakness was a disease, that I needed to burn it out or it would kill me." His hands trembled. "I think it's been burning ever since. I think I've been on fire my whole life, and I didn't know what peace felt like until you." Something cracked open in Amma's chest. She'd maintained professional boundaries for 3 weeks, reminded herself daily, "He's a patient. You're a nurse. This is temporary. Don't get attached." But boundaries are made of walls, and walls crumble under enough weight. "You're not weak," she whispered, taking his face in her hands. "You're the strongest person I've ever met. To survive 10 years of that and not lose yourself completely, to still be capable of this, of vulnerability, of hope. Sang-woo, that's not weakness, that's warrior." He stared at her like she'd spoken a language he'd been trying to learn his entire life. And then he kissed her. It wasn't frantic, wasn't desperate. It was reverent, like he was afraid she'd disappear if he moved too quickly. Amma knew she should stop this, knew every code of ethics she was breaking. But when his hands trembled against her back, when he whispered please against her neck like a prayer, she couldn't find it in herself to pull away. They made love slowly, carefully, not as patient and nurse, but as two people who'd been searching for each other across continents and lifetimes without knowing it. And when Sang-woo woke the next morning, the sun streaming through the windows, Amma asleep beside him, He felt nothing. No burning, no pressure, no screaming urge crawling under his skin. For the first time in 10 years, Cho Sang-woo woke up at peace. He tested it carefully throughout the day, afraid to believe it. Walked through the suite. No symptoms. Reviewed business documents Kwan brought. No symptoms. Ate breakfast, made phone calls, existed in his body without wanting to claw his way out of it. Nothing. It's gone, he said to Amma that evening, wonder and disbelief warring in his voice. I don't understand how, but it's gone. Amma smiled, but her expression was cautious. We should monitor it. It could be temporary, or it's you. He took her hands, certainty blazing in his eyes. It's not just your touch. It's you, your presence, your voice, your... He struggled for words. Your spirit. You didn't just treat my symptoms, Amma. You healed something I didn't even know was broken. She wanted to tell him healing didn't work that way, that he couldn't build his recovery around one person, that she'd leave eventually and he needed sustainable coping mechanisms. But when he looked at her like she'd saved his life, because she had, the clinical warnings died on her tongue. 2 weeks later, Sang-woo made a decision that shocked Seoul's entire underworld. At a gathering of the city's most powerful crime families, held in a private restaurant that cost more per night than most people earned in a year, Cho Sang-woo stood and made an announcement. I'm taking a wife. Murmurs rippled through the room. This wasn't unusual. Powerful men married for alliances, for territory, for legacy. Then Amma walked in, and the murmurs became shocked silence. She wore a dress that blended Korean hanbok elegance with Ghanaian kente cloth, a visual statement of two worlds meeting. She moved with quiet confidence, head high, refusing to shrink under the stares. Sang-woo took her hand, and his voice carried steel. Amma Mensah, nurse, healer. The woman who saved my life when your doctors gave up on me. She is under my personal protection. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me. The message was clear. Touch her, and you die. Later, his lieutenants questioned him privately. She's a foreigner, African, a nurse. This will make you look weak. She makes me strong, Sang-woo said quietly. For 10 years, I was dying. She gave me my life back. That's not weakness. That's the greatest power I've ever known. But 3 floors below that restaurant, in a private room, Yoonji Park sat alone with a glass of soju, hands shaking. She'd watched it all. Watched Amma walk in, wearing that dress. Watched Sang-woo look at her the way Yoonji had dreamed of being looked at for 2 years. Watched her entire fantasy crumble into ash. Her phone buzzed. A text from her aunt. Come to my office. Now. Dr. Han Miang poured 2 glasses of whiskey when Yoonji arrived, her expression unreadable. You've been in love with him for 2 years, Dr. Han said. It wasn't a question. Yoonji's throat tightened. It doesn't matter now. What if I told you, Dr. Han said carefully, that there are people who see Sang-woo's stability as a problem. People who preferred him weak, distracted, vulnerable. People who would reward those who help return him to that state. Yoonji looked up sharply. What are you saying? I'm saying that African nurse didn't heal him. She trapped him, made him dependent, isolated him from his real allies. Dr. Han's smile was cold, and I'm saying that if someone were to prove that, with evidence, with documentation, they could save him from her manipulation, become his real savior. Jealousy is a poison that tastes like justice. What do you need me to do? Yoonji whispered. The engagement party was supposed to be a beginning. Amma stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the traditional Ghanaian kaba and slit her mother had sent from Accra. Deep burgundy with gold threading, elegant and modest. Over it, she wore a modified hanbok joggery in cream silk. 2 cultures, 1 celebration. You look beautiful, Sang-woo said from the doorway, and the tenderness in his voice still caught her off guard. 3 months ago, he'd been a stranger in hell. Now he stood before her in a tailored black suit, calm, healthy, whole. "Are you sure about this?" Amma asked quietly. "Your world isn't kind to outsiders, to people who look like me." He crossed the room, tilting her chin up. "My world bows to power, and you, Amma Mensa, have more power than any weapon I've ever carried." He pressed his forehead to hers. "You gave me my life back. Tonight, I give you my name, my protection, my future. Let them whisper. Let them judge. You're mine and I'm yours." She kissed him, tasting hope and fear in equal measure. "Please, God, let this work. Let love be enough." The venue was stunning. A private garden hall where cherry blossoms had been imported out of season, where traditional Korean lanterns hung beside Ghanaian Adinkra symbols carved in gold, a blend of worlds that seemed impossible and yet somehow right. Guests arrived in waves: crime bosses in expensive suits, politicians with fake smiles, medical elite from Yongan Institute. Dr. Han arrived in elegant black, her expression serene. Yoonji followed, dressed in pale pink, eyes downcast. When Yoonji approached Amma, her smile seemed genuine. "Uni, you look like a queen. I'm so happy for you." "Thank you, Yoonji. That means a lot." Yoonji's hand trembled slightly as she squeezed Amma's. "You deserve all the happiness in the world." Amma didn't see the way Yoonji's eyes followed Sang-woo across the room. Didn't notice the hunger, the grief, the jealousy burning behind that gentle smile. In a private room behind the kitchen, Dr. Han prepared the final details. A custom mixed compound, powerful, untraceable after 6 hours, designed to trigger neurochemical chaos. She'd tested it on 3 patients already. The results were spectacular. She drew the clear liquid into a medical syringe, disguising it in a vitamin B12 injection kit. "You're sure about this?" Yoonji whispered from the doorway, looking pale. "He's been taking supplements all week. This is just another injection." Dr. Han's voice was clinical, detached. "In 30 minutes, his condition will return, violently. She won't be able to calm him. Everyone will see the miracle was a lie. But what if she actually loves him?" Dr. Han's smile was cold. "Love doesn't cure neurological conditions, Yoonji. Science does. And when I step in to stabilize him, when you are by my side, proving yourself useful, he'll see who his real allies are." Yoonji nodded slowly, pushing down the voice in her head that whispered, "This is wrong. Jealousy is a poison that convinces you you're the hero of the story." The moment happened during the toasts. Sang-woo stood at the center of the garden, Amma beside him, their hands intertwined. His speech was short, powerful. To the woman who saw a monster and called him human, to healing, to love that crosses every boundary. Guests raised their glasses. Amma's eyes shone with tears, and then Sang-woo's expression changed. It started with a tremor in his hand, then bead of sweat on his temple. His breathing quickened, pupils dilating. The same look of wild panic Amma hadn't seen in months. "Sang-woo?" she whispered. He didn't respond. His entire body went rigid, face contorting in pain. The glass fell from his hand, shattering on stone. "Get back!" he growled, but not to Amma, to everyone. Get away from me!" The symptoms erupted like a dam breaking, 10 years of torment flooding back all at once, magnified, weaponized by Dr. Han's compound. A female guest walked past, too close. Sang-woo grabbed her wrist, pulling her toward him with terrifying strength. She screamed. He didn't seem to hear it, lost in the fire under his skin, eyes unfocused, desperate. "Sang-woo!" Amma rushed forward, trying to reach him. "Look at me! Listen to my voice!" She pressed her hands to his chest, his face trying the grounding techniques that always worked. Nothing happened. Her touch, The touch that had saved him, calmed him, healed him, did nothing. Panic flooded Amma's face. "I don't understand." Sang-woo shoved her away hard. She stumbled backward, caught by a bodyguard before she hit the ground. The garden erupted into chaos. Guests screaming, scrambling back. Security rushing forward. Sang-woo roaring in pain and fury, thrashing against the arms trying to restrain him. And through it all, Dr. Han watched with clinical satisfaction. 2 hours later, Sang-woo sat in his bedroom, body still trembling, mind still fractured. They'd sedated him twice. Nothing worked. The torment raged like it had never left. Worse, because he'd tasted freedom, and now it was gone. Dr. Han entered with a tablet and a sympathetic expression. "I'm so sorry you're going through this, Mr. Cho, but I need to show you something, for your own safety." She pulled up medical records, Amma's logs, medication charts, treatment notes, except they weren't real. "These show unauthorized substance administration over the past 3 months, Dr. Han said gently. "Carefully timed doses designed to create dependency, to make you believe only she could help you." "That's not..." Sang-woo's voice was hoarse, drugged. "She wouldn't..." "Look at the timeline." Dr. Han's finger traced the fabricated entries. "She began this protocol the day she arrived. Small doses of sedatives mixed with mild hallucinogens to create a calming effect when she touched you. Increased gradually to establish emotional and physical dependence." She showed him falsified notes, twisted therapy sessions, cultural practices reframed as manipulation. "She saw a powerful, desperate man," Dr. Han said softly, "and she made herself indispensable for status, for money, for a visa and a marriage that would change her entire life." The door opened. Yoonji entered, tears on her face, wringing her hands. "Dr. Han, I can't stay silent anymore." She looked at Sang-woo with manufactured anguish. "I saw her multiple times, adjusting your supplements, your drinks. I thought I was imagining it, or that it was part of treatment. But when I asked her about it, she told me to mind my business, threatened my position if I reported her." It was a lie, every word a lie. But Sang-woo, drugged and paranoid and burning alive again, saw only a pattern he recognized: betrayal. When Amma entered the room, summoned by security, she knew immediately something was wrong. Sang-woo stood by the window, back to her, radiating cold fury. "Sang-woo, I need to examine you. Something's wrong. This shouldn't be happening." "Don't." His voice was ice. "Don't touch me. Don't speak. Just answer the question." He turned, and the look in his eyes shattered her. "Did you drug me?" "What? No, I would never..." "These records say otherwise." He threw the tablet at her feet. 3 months of manipulation, creating dependency so I'd marry you, protect you, give you everything. Amma picked up the tablet with shaking hands, scrolling through logs she'd never written, notes she'd never made, signatures that looked like hers but weren't. "This is fake," she whispered. "Sang-woo, this is forged. You're the only one with access." He roared and she flinched. "The only one who could do this. The moment you walked away tonight, I fell apart. The moment your magic touch didn't work, everyone saw the truth." "Because someone sabotaged you." Amma's voice broke. "Someone drugged you to make it look like Enough." His hand slammed against the wall. "I trusted you. I gave you everything, and you exploited me like everyone else. You just did it with a softer voice and a grandmother's fairy tale." Tears streamed down Amma's face. "You know me. You know my heart. Please, just listen. You have 24 hours to leave Seoul," Sang-woo said, voice dead. "After that, my protection is gone. My men will make sure you disappear. Do you understand?" The room spun. Her career, her visa, her life, gone. "I love you," she whispered. "You loved what I could give you." He turned back to the window. "Get out." Security escorted her from the suite, from the building, from the only place she'd felt at home in months. And Cho Sang-woo stood alone in his prison of flesh, convinced he'd been saved from a lie, not realizing he'd just destroyed the only truth he'd ever known. Amma lost everything in 48 hours. Her position at Yongan Institute terminated, her nursing license suspended pending investigation, her visa status revoked based on ethical violations. The luxury apartment Sang-woo had provided, locked, her belongings thrown into garbage bags left on the curb. She stood in the rain outside that building, holding 2 suitcases and her grandmother's talisman, watching her life dissolve like ink in water. The Ghanaian community found her before she became completely lost. Sister Ajoa from the Accra Presbyterian Church took her in, a small apartment in Itaewon shared with 3 other women. They asked no questions, offered no judgment, just tea, a blanket, and a couch that became her bed. "You can cry here," Sister Ajoa said gently. "God sees you." But Amma didn't cry. Not yet. She had work to do. The rumors spread like disease through Seoul's medical community. The African nurse who seduced and drugged a Mafia boss, manipulated him for marriage and money, exploited cultural superstition to prey on a desperate man. Amma heard the whispers when she went to the hospital to retrieve her final paycheck, saw the looks, disgust, pity, contempt. One nurse she'd considered a friend literally turned her back when Amma approached. But in the silence of Sister Ajoa's apartment, Amma opened her laptop and began building her defense. She printed every shift log she'd saved, every performance review, every email exchange with Dr. Han. She pulled up her nursing school records, her hospital transcripts from Ghana, letters of recommendation that praised her ethics and compassion. Then she started cross-referencing the falsified documents. The signatures looked like hers, but the handwriting analysis was off. The timestamps placed her administering medications when she'd been at mandatory nursing seminars across the city. The medication codes referenced substances she'd never been certified to handle. Whoever forged these records had been sloppy, confident that no one would believe a foreign nurse over a respected Korean doctor. They'd underestimated her. "I will not be erased," Amma whispered to herself, the way her grandmother had taught her to speak life into dark places. "I will not disappear." The knock came 3 weeks after the exile. Amma opened the door to find Cho Jae-hwan standing in the narrow hallway, looking deeply uncomfortable in a neighborhood his security detail clearly hated. "Miss Mensah," he said formally, "may I come in?" She should have slammed the door, should have told him to take his family's cruelty and leave. But something in his expression, grief, doubt, guilt, made her step aside. Sister Ajoa brought tea, assessed Jae-hwan with the sharp eyes of a woman who'd survived worse than crime bosses, and left them alone. "My brother is dying again," Jae-hwan said without preamble. "Not physically, not yet. But the man I saw 3 months ago, calm, hopeful, human, is gone. He's back in hell, and he's taking everyone around him there too." "I can't help him," Amma said, voice flat. "He made that clear." "I don't believe you drugged him." Amma's head snapped up. Jae-hwan leaned forward, hands clasped. "I've known my brother for 34 years. I've watched him survive torture, betrayal, assassination attempts. He doesn't break easily. But you?" His voice softened. "You didn't just heal his body. You made him want to live. I saw it. Everyone saw it. Then why?" "Because he's been betrayed by everyone he's ever trusted. Our father, our mother before she died. Every ally who smiled while planning to stab him in the back." Jae-hwan's jaw tightened. He spent his whole life waiting for the other shoe to drop, and Dr. Han gave him the proof he was expecting all along. "The proof is forged," Amma said, pulling out her folder. "Look." For the next 2 hours, they went through everything. Jae-hwan's eyes widened as the evidence mounted. Alibis, timeline inconsistencies, signature analysis, medication codes that didn't match her certifications. "This is enough to prove you didn't do it," he said slowly, but not enough to prove who did. Then we keep digging. The investigation took shape in secret. Jae Hwan used his resources carefully, avoiding anyone in Sang-woo's inner circle who might report back. He pulled security footage from the engagement party, found Dr. Han entering a private room with a medical kit 15 minutes before Sang-woo's collapse. Amma tracked financial records through a contact at Yongan, discovered large transfers to Dr. Han's personal account from a shell corporation. Small transfers at first, then increasingly large sums, all in the weeks leading up to the engagement. Jae Hwan traced the shell corporation back to its source, Park Menuk, leader of a rival syndicate that had been trying to destabilize Sang-woo for years. It wasn't jealousy, Amma breathed, staring at the evidence. It was an assassination attempt. A very effective one, Jae Hwan said grimly. They didn't need to kill him. They just needed to destroy his stability, isolate him, make him weak again. You were collateral damage. Amma's hands trembled with rage. And Yeonji? Jae Hwan had already tracked her down, confronted her in a hospital parking lot where she couldn't run. At first, Yeonji denied everything. Then, as Jae Hwan showed her the financial records, the security footage, the evidence of Dr. Han's conspiracy, her composure cracked. I didn't know, she sobbed. I swear I didn't know about the rival syndicate. Aunt Myung said we were helping him, that Amma was dangerous, that she was manipulating him with drugs, and I just... Her voice broke. I loved him. I've loved him since the first time I saw him, and she just showed up and he looked at her like she saved his life, Jae Hwan said coldly. Because she did. Yeonji collapsed against her car, weeping. What have I done? You're going to fix it, Jae Hwan said, or I'll make sure everyone knows you helped destroy the dragon of Gangnam. Do you understand what his men do to traitors? Yeonji nodded, terror and grief warring on her face. The press conference was Dr. Han's masterstroke, a high-profile event announcing a landmark partnership between Yongan Institute and several powerful benefactors. Journalists, medical elite, influential politicians, all gathered to hear about cutting-edge psychiatric treatment for high-profile clients. Dr. Han stood at the podium, radiant in her success. Behind her, a slideshow showcased the facility's achievements. We've pioneered protocols for the most challenging cases, she said smoothly. Stability, sustainability, and scientifically backed results. In the front row, Sang-woo sat like a carved statue, present for image management, hollow inside. And I'm pleased to introduce our newest clinical advisor, Nurse Yoonji Park, whose dedication to patient care are... Stop. Jae Hwan's voice cut through the auditorium like a blade. He walked down the center aisle, tablet in hand, followed by 2 lawyers and 3 security guards. Reporters swiveled, cameras clicking. Dr. Han's smile froze. Before you continue, Jae Hwan said, I think everyone should see the real protocols you've pioneered. He connected his tablet to the main screen. The slideshow vanished, replaced by bank statements. Transfers from Park Menuk's Shell Corporation to Dr. Han Myung. Dates, amounts, transaction notes, consultation fee, Project Dragon, final payment. Gasps rippled through the audience. Security footage from March 15th, Jae Hwan continued. The screen showed Dr. Han entering a private room with a medical kit, then later, Sang-woo's violent collapse. Timeline analysis proving Nurse Amma Mensah was at a nursing conference during the times she supposedly administered unauthorized drugs. He showed the forged documents side by side with handwriting analysis, showed Yoonji's tearful confession recorded on video, showed the evidence piece by piece of a conspiracy designed not just to destroy Amma, but to weaponize Cho Sang-woo's illness for a rival syndicate's gain. The auditorium erupted, reporters shouting questions, medical board members whispering furiously, politicians quietly heading for exits. Sang-woo stood slowly, face drained of color, eyes locked on the screen. Dr. Han backed away from the podium. This is fabricated. I can explain." "No." Sang-woo's voice was quiet, deadly. "You can't." He walked toward her with the measured pace of a predator. She tried to run. His men blocked every exit. "You were paid by my enemies," he said, each word precise. "You poisoned me at my own engagement. You destroyed an innocent woman to destabilize me. You made me the weapon that cut out my own heart." "Mr. Cho, please, take her," he said to his men. "Traitor's punishment. Make it slow." Dr. Han's screams echoed as they dragged her out. Sang-woo turned to Yoonji, who stood frozen in horror. "You have 1 hour to leave Seoul. If I ever see your face again, I'll forget you were just a pawn." Then he walked out of the auditorium, one thought screaming through his mind louder than any symptom ever had. What have I done? The rain came down in sheets the way it only does in Seoul's spring, violent, cleansing, unforgiving. Amma was packing when she heard the knock. Her flight to Accra left in 8 hours. Sister Ajoa had already said goodbye with tears and prayers. The evidence had cleared her name, restored her license. But Seoul held nothing for her now except ghosts and wounds that wouldn't stop bleeding. She opened the door. Cho Sang-woo stood in the hallway, soaked through, rain dripping from his hair, his expensive suit ruined. His eyes were raw, hollow, devastated. And then he dropped to his knees. "I'm sorry." His voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, Amma, for all of it, for every moment of pain I caused you, for choosing fear over everything we built, for throwing you to the wolves when you needed me most." Amma's throat closed. She'd imagined this moment 100 times, imagined screaming at him, slamming the door, walking away with her head high. She hadn't imagined how much it would still hurt. "You believed them over me," she whispered. "You had all the evidence of who I was, 3 months of love, of healing, of truth, and you chose to believe a lie because it fit the story you've always told yourself." "I know." He didn't defend himself, didn't make excuses. "I was so used to betrayal, I went looking for it. I turned myself into the weapon that destroyed the only real thing I've ever had." Tears mixed with rain on his face. "You saved my life, and I repaid you by trying to end yours." "You succeeded," Amma said, anger finally breaking through. "You didn't just break my heart, Sang-woo. You destroyed my career, my reputation, my safety. Do you know what it's like to be hunted out of a country because the man who promised to protect you decided you were the enemy?" "No." His voice was barely audible. "But I will spend the rest of my life trying to understand, trying to make it right, even if you never forgive me, even if you get on that plane and I never see you again." He looked up, eyes meeting hers. "I'm not asking you to forget. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm just asking for the chance to prove I can be the man you believed I was." Amma's hands trembled. Every rational part of her screamed to walk away, to protect herself, to let him drown in the consequences of his choices. But her grandmother's voice whispered in her memory, "You will meet someone the world has given up on." "I don't forgive you," she said clearly. "Not yet. Maybe not for a long time." Sang-woo nodded, accepting it. "But I won't give up on you either." 6 months changed everything. Sang-woo didn't just apologize. He worked. Real therapy. Twice a week with a trauma specialist, confronting the childhood wounds that taught him love was always a trap. Learning to sit with vulnerability instead of destroying it. Learning that trust was a practice, not a feeling. He launched a public campaign to clear Amma's name, full-page ads in Korean newspapers, statements to medical boards, financial restitution to compensate for her destroyed career. He dismantled every lie Dr. Han had built, piece by piece. He showed up. Not with grand gestures, but with consistency. Texted her every morning. Good morning, I'm still here, still working, still yours if you'll have me. He learned about Ghana, watched Ghanaian films, learned basic Twi phrases, attended Sister Ajoa's church even when Amma wasn't there, sent money to her, Mother's Village for a new medical clinic built in her grandmother's name. He didn't pressure her, didn't demand forgiveness, just showed up day after day doing the work, and slowly, painfully slowly, the walls between them began to crack. His condition didn't disappear. The urges still came, the pressure still built. But through therapy, coping mechanisms, meditation, and purpose beyond power, it became manageable, a scar, not a prison. I was searching for satisfaction, he told his therapist one afternoon, but what I really needed was safety, to be known and not destroyed, to be loved and not betrayed. And now? The therapist asked. Now I'm learning that healing isn't someone else's job, it's mine. 5 months in, they had dinner. Just dinner. Sister Ajoa's cooking, laughter, stories about Amma's childhood that made him smile. I'm not your cure, Amma said as they walked along the Han River afterward. I can't be. I know. Sang-woo stopped, turning to her. You're not my cure. You're my partner, my equal. The woman who saw me at my worst and still believed I could be better. And now? Now I'm asking you to see me again, not the man I was, but the man I'm becoming. And if you like him, if you can trust him, I want to build something real, something that doesn't break the first time it's tested. Amma studied his face, older now, softer, marked by humility and work. I'm still scared. So am I. He took her hand carefully, giving her space to pull away. She didn't. But maybe that means it's real. The second proposal happened on a boat at sunset, just the two of them on the Han River. No entourage, no witnesses, just a man and a woman who'd walked through fire and somehow found each other on the other side. Amma Mensa, Sang-woo said, voice steady. I'm not asking you to fix me. I'm not asking you to complete me. I'm asking you to be my partner, to build a life where we both do the hard work of showing up, of choosing each other, of making our scars meaningful instead of just painful. He opened a small box. Inside, 2 rings, one with a Korean jade stone, one with Ghanaian gold. Will you marry me? Not as my savior, as my equal. Amma looked at this man who'd destroyed her and rebuilt himself, who'd fallen and gotten back up, who'd learned that love wasn't possession, it was partnership. She thought of her grandmother's prophecy, of the person the world had given up on who became the person who refused to give up on himself. Yes, she whispered, I will. The wedding blended 2 worlds, Korean hanbok and Ghanaian kente, traditional drums and string quartets, kimchi and jollof rice. Jae Hwan walked Amma down the aisle. Sister Ajoa read scripture in Twi. Sang-woo's vows were in Korean and English, promising partnership, not salvation. 2 years later, their daughter, Akosua Ji-woo, took her first steps across the living room of their home. No longer a penthouse prison, but a space filled with light, laughter, and the mundane beauty of shared life. Sang-woo still had hard days, days when the pressure built and the old darkness called, but now he had tools, therapy, purpose, and a partner who loved him enough to let him do his own work. Does it still hurt? Amma asked one evening, their daughter asleep between them. Sometimes, he admitted, but now it means something. It's not just pain, it's proof I survived, that we both did. She took his hand, and he felt the same peace he'd felt the first time she touched him. Not magic, not a cure, but connection. His body was no longer a prison, and the scars he carried were no longer curses. They were testimony. He'd spent 10 years searching for satisfaction, never realizing he was really searching for her.